Welcome to The Lumber Word, where industry veterans Matt Beamer, Greg Riley, and Ashley Buckholt dissect the world of commodity lumber each week. We bring you up-to-date insights on supply, demand, and market trends, sharing our trading expertise to benefit everyone in the supply chain. Join us for informative and entertaining discussions that guarantee to make you wiser about all things lumber.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Lumber Word. This is going to be episode 14. Appreciate everybody coming up. Last week, we reached a milestone with 2,000 downloads of the podcast since we've been recording it. And that is 2,000 downloads that we know of in the Podbeam app that we use. So we're kind of excited about that. Real quick, a disclaimer. The Lumber Word podcast is dedicated to engaging conversation about the lumber industry, including trade ideas, market trends, and evaluation of overvalued and undervalued assets. We wish to emphasize that the discussion and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely for informational and entertainment purposes. They should not be considered as financial or investment advice. We encourage our listeners to make their own financial decisions, taking into account their unique circumstances and financial goals, and to seek professional financial advice if necessary.
Man, I love Ash. I just love that we've gone establishment here at the Lumber Word.
Well, and that was,
I mean,
100% written by ChatGPT.
They did a great job too. Exactly.
They did do a great job. I only have to type in one word, and then they type that up for me.
You went word.
Yeah, it's exactly exactly it. The other thing I wanted to mention before we introduce our guest is we have our new website up. It is thelumberword.com. That's thelumberword.com. As we grow over the next few months, we are going to add a lot more data into there. Every show will be updated on there with an explanation of it. Greg, you were asking about charts. We'll be able to put charts in there. It's also a place people can come to ask us questions that they want to hear about during the podcast.
Do we have a place? So we're going to have a place on there, Ash, where people can put their credit card information in. We can auto bill them monthly.
We're working on that. That.
You know, that's what I'm here for. You know, a lot of guys say, "Hey, Greg, what are you doing?" You know, like, you know, you love the lumber business. You've been in it all your life. And I'm going like, yeah, no, I just do it for the money.
We'll work on that. Let me put a note down on that. So we're going to jump right into it and introduce Joe Pepe from LMC. Joe has been in the industry for, Joe, how long have you been in the industry for?
Very long, 5 years. You know, everybody else has either been here 25 years. So, yeah, you know,
so
definitely not a veteran yet.
No, you're definitely still a rookie. I mean, 5 years, that's a rookie year.
So as with everything, I'm going to let you explain a little bit, talk about LMC. I have worked with LMC directly or indirectly at all the companies I've been in. Great group of people, nothing but good things to say. And we're excited to have you on. I saw on LinkedIn where you were a mathematics tutor.
That's right.
It took me 4 times in college to get through Algebra 1. So if I would have had your help, possibly I could have got through in 3, I'm guessing, right?
Hey, lumber math is different from algebra, that's for sure. That's for sure. So you took the right math course to get here. So I think we're okay there, Ash.
That's awesome.
For sure.
That's awesome. And you were a Temple Owl, is that right?
Temple Owl.
Right on.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. So let's just jump into it and tell us a little bit about what you do, how you got into LMC, and what you're currently doing.
Yeah. So to break it down here, my father actually worked at LMC about 20 years ago. He sold nails and fasteners his whole life. You know, it's weird. Not that following your dad's footsteps is a bad thing or anything, but you know, when it's like building materials, like, oh, you're doing what your dad did. You know, nobody ever questions it when you're a football player. You know, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's at Ohio State. Nobody's like, oh, nobody's questioning him that he's going to be a wide receiver someday. So, you know, a little different there. But he got me into a lumber yard at 16 that he was selling nails at. And, you know, that's how I kind of broke into the industry there from that point of view, just stocking shelves at the lumber yard, pulling orders and everything like that. Graduated from Temple in 2018 with a marketing degree, and kind of had, you know, that little tease of the industry with that. And I interned at LMC my junior year of college, then came back, graduated, and ended up back here. So that's kind of the journey there, Ash.
You've got 2 other guys that had a similar journey. So you either get in it by accident or you're born into it. I'm kind of putting you into the category that you're born into it.
I would agree, Ash, for sure.
Yeah, so Ash, we started out, our careers were a lot rougher. I mean, I had to start unloading like box cars of lumber by like hand, you know, before they even had flat car paper wrap. Did you had to unload trucks by hand when they came in, didn't you?
So you remember the deal when you and I worked together at Block? If I sold my dad a truck, the deal was it had to deliver on Saturday, and I had to unload it and then hand put it into the bins.
That's old school. That's the way to do it.
So I would do anything for an order and agree to that, and it worked. So Joe, tell us a little bit about LMC. What LMC is all about?
Yeah. So the basic overview is, we're 400 independent dealers, that we group together and we're able to buy together. And with that combination of all the dealers, we can have the purchasing power and be able to compete with the Home Depots, Lowe's, etc. So independent dealers come together and make one big conglomerate. And with that power, we're able to compete with the big guys. So that's really the gist, to keep it simple.
I mean, the biggest challenge for you guys probably has been all these private equity guys rolling
That's
up
right.
the independent guys. I mean, it's crazy when I look at some of the markets out there where there used to be, 5 or 6 guys that you talk to, and now it's one buyer sitting in an ivory tower somewhere.
Yeah, with those private equity groups and how they're running their lumber purchasing, it's way different from what we usually see, for sure.
Right. Well, and their buying strategies are so much different from privately owned independent dealer on how he looks at managing the market, his inventories, et cetera. I mean, I think that's one of the things that really differentiates for your members is, the expertise that you guys add to give them a competitive advantage in the marketplace.
One of our biggest strengths is that we have 400 fiercely independent dealers. And one of our roadblocks is we have 400 fiercely independent dealers. We have 400 different strategies that, we have to, make sure we're all accustomed to. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I've had a great time in this industry, and dealing with all these different strategies and everything like that every day is it's definitely a challenge for sure.
So Joe, one thing you sent me over a couple weeks ago was a little a video. I should say it's
welcome
that you
to the
give
Lumber
to your,
Word,
to your
where
members.
industry
And
veterans Matt
I
Beamer,
walked
Gregg
into
Riley,
Greg's
and
office
Ashley
after
Buckled
listening to it. I
dissect
said,
the
"Hey,
world of
Joe
commodity
really does a
lumber
good
each
job
week.
on this." And we
We
were
bring you
talking
up-to-date
about
insights
2 by
on
6
supply, demand, and
being,
market trends,
how
sharing
Gregg, we were
our
talking
trading
about, went from
expertise to
overvalued, and
benefit
like, hey, Joe
everyone
thinks
in the
it's
supply
kinda
chain.
getting cheap again.
Join us for
And Gregg's like,
informative
well,
and entertaining
Joe's probably
discussions
right
that
about that,
guarantee
right? That's
to make
after we
you
went from
wiser
600
about all
and something
things lumber.
down to 500, 490-ish. And so anyway, do you still do that on a weekly basis? Put out like content like that?
Yes, I do. And if I don't put a video out to the dealers, I will at least get a message out there. Some weeks on Fridays gets a little crazy, even though Friday's typically a slower market day. I have a lot of catch-up work that day. So I try to get a video out as much as possible. Like you said, Ash, I need to get more consistent with that. I always get asked for it, so I try to make it as much as possible.
Don't you think that now, and you being a younger individual in the industry, that just video and audio content on a regular basis to customers is really a difference maker right now, right?
Oh, it's incredible. And we have all the equipment here. I just have my tablet and my headset. I have the free audio production equipment or whatever built into Microsoft. So easy to get that content out there. It's just a little extra work, right?
Yeah. We had Kyle on from Sherwood last week, and it was a great show.
We talked. You had the big guy Kyle there from Sherwood, the CEO, and then now you got a 5-year trader. So it's
well, no, look at it's
you get all of life there.
Don't show him up on the show, Joe. Come on, don't do that.
Look, you got a lot of good stuff in front of you. I think you put out good content, and you've got a good head on your shoulders. So last week we were talking about housing and building and so forth, and this week I am just as confused. I was just talking to Gregg. You go out and you talk to independents. Just got off the phone with one before we got on this call, and the feedback was, we're waiting for the owner to give us permission to buy again, and we're trying to figure it all out. Then you go to a great big chain, and they're like, hey, just going through our numbers, month over month, we're down 1%, down big up in the Northeast, down or a little bit better in the Southeast, but it was October, and we thought things would be better. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. People are running their inventories thin, we feel. There have been no substantial curtailments announced, and I mean, our feeling here is there probably won't be any substantial curtailments between now and the end of the year. As Gregg always says, you make your seasonal low in spruce the 3rd week of October. It looks like we're kind of following that again, but it's going to make it tough sledding. One of the guys up in Montreal told me, Greg, this is a market where you sometimes have to skate and take your gloves off a little bit. What's your
hockey guys? Yeah,
yeah,
hockey guys
a lot of
there.
hockey euphemisms that we have to
Oh
throw
yeah,
around.
I'm sure. Yeah, all the Montreal guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they'll throw the hockey around.
We got a young kid who's going to make some waves this year. Let me tell you, at the Blackhawks, look out.
I mean, ESPN is obsessed with him. I mean,
Yeah.
they follow him around every single minute on the ice. The Connor Bedard camera, it's unbelievable.
They were like following him in the bathroom.
Yeah, right.
So what's your thought, gents, on the on where we're at right now? It's Tuesday as we're recording this right now, but it's tougher to get orders, but they're out there. People are really looking for things. I'm what I see on, like, as you explained, on the retail level, on the multifamily level, I'll let Greg expand on that a little bit. But on the wholesale level, some of the big international traders I talk to keep calling me looking for the same thing. So I think there's been short orders being taken over the last few weeks. And at some point, probably some of that's going to get covered if it's not already getting covered.
I think it's been, actually, my thing is, I feel like that's all been being covered on an ongoing basis every week. In Eastern Spruce, Joe, and look at this. At the end of every week, I get the feedback from the mills that, hey, we've sold, like, quote unquote production, not more than production, but not much less than production. So they're able to get it done, but it's a drip, drip, drip market that's, depending on the item, is down $5 to $25 a week. And how much farther can it go down from here? I guess my question to you is, your sense of, we get a pretty good sense that we think that end users' inventories are, they're not low. They're adequate for the business that they have, and they need to be in the market every week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at these pricing levels and at the supply level we have right now, where you can, get pretty much anything you need within 2 weeks, this strategy of just kind of just filling in holes is just going to keep continuing until we see something massive, some sort of drama, some sort of big curtailment or something like that to really bring this market back to something where dealers like, okay, I need to buy further ahead and keep more on the ground. Because we're seeing, like we said, Ash, on like 2x6 16s, you could 400 port roughly on Euro. You could stock up your yard for a year and feel pretty good about yourself. But guys just don't want to do that right now.
The current interest rates, it's like, hey, do I really want to add that much extra cost? When you say, like, a year, hey, so maybe that's an item that you'd add like 30 days worth of inventory. But, that's my challenge, Joe, as I look at it, I go, okay, so we're going to have probably more extensive holiday curtailments, and that will stretch into January. First quarter is the lowest production quarter of the year. My wild card is, okay, how much like speculative buying to increase the inventories is there going to be when we're staring at the teeth of 8% mortgage rates and maybe going higher, right? That's my challenge. My challenge is trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, and then I keep hearing things out there, reading articles online and on LinkedIn that the industry is still somehow underbuilt. Question is, how underbuilt are we from interest rates from that were before this 8%, before the 6%? I mean, are all those homes finally built to the past 2 years? Because we were so behind on supply, not just lumber, but hardware, doors, windows, etc. So are all of those projects finally done? Those finally built? Because I just, again, I don't know where this underbuilt is coming from, because it can't be from 9% interest rates.
I mean, we probably need 1.5 million houses built a year to sustain like where the population is. That's kind of what I think is kind of like I look at that as kind of an equilibrium number. I mean, we do have this almost 1.7 million houses under construction right now.
Yep.
And I guess that brings that point is, Ash, for our viewers, we're going to put up a chart that shows the spread between the median existing home price and the median new home price, which new homes are always more expensive than existing homes. The spread was out fourth quarter 22. That new homes were going on median $100,000 over existing homes. In August, the spread was into 13,000. I'm trying to think through my head. So what does that really mean? I mean, I don't know that we've ever seen new homes on average costing less than existing homes, but I'm projecting that somewhere over the next 3 to 6 months. Ash, you had some great data from the Pulte earnings call this morning.
Yeah, that was a great article.
So I was reading Lance Lambert.
Shout out to Lance here.
A shout out to Lance. He put it out real time during the call. And basically what the Pulte Group CEO, Ryan Marshall, was saying that's their most powerful tool right now is their ability to buy down rates. This is a neophyte's definition of what I heard Lance say. Their real power is their mortgage side and buying down rates. So right during that, I came and I said, hey, Greg, I just read this about that Lance put out. Okay, that's great for the Pultes of the world. What about all the other builders, the smaller ones and so forth? Can they, how do they get into that? I mean, does that hurt them? Are just these bigger builders going to start consolidating more with these smaller builders? Is there going to be margin shrink now? Every tick up in mortgage rates now, that buy down just becomes more expensive. Or when do buyers decide now the buy downs, 5.75-ish now? In a month, what if it's 6.75? So there's a lot of things in the air there.
I mean, from a practical standpoint, that's just a different way to cut the price of the house, right?
Good point.
From a practical standpoint, whether you give away a bunch of free stuff that you normally charge extra for, or you subsidize the interest rate, this is just another form of price cut that's ultimately going to eat into margin.
But it's still positive for new, at least for that group, for Pulte. It's positive for go forward building and selling new homes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like the single family home builders, it's not going to crash next year, but it's going to continue to be a challenging environment. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious when it comes down to these big builders buying down these interest rates. As a buyer after the fact, I mean, what's the mechanics of if you want to refinance that?
Well, so I the way I understand this, and I could be wrong on this, is they're giving them right now. Some of these they're locking this into 30 years, so they're buying down the 30-year mortgage. It's not one of those that we saw a few months ago, which was locked in for one, year two, and then floated to the current market. Those were out there, but I think right now these are 30-year mortgage buy downs, right, Greg?
I believe so.
Yeah, so I believe in this case, there's no fear in year two right now that floating to the current market. They're actually buying it down, putting people in a 30-year fixed. Was that the question, Joe?
No, that answers the question. Yeah. It's just a couple of years here in this industry. It's amazing how a couple of years ago we had the most expensive lumber out there all time, and the people that were buying all the houses with the most expensive lumber were, the middle class. And now we have lumber that's not the cheapest it's ever been, but kind of average, and the only people that are kind of able to afford new housing is the upper class. So it's kind of a backwards world right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So mills, let's talk about what our mills are telling us. Greg and I were talking about this, and Matt, I don't think there's really very many mills in BC or the Western region, even the Western US, or in Eastern Canada that are probably making much money right now.
No, they can't. Right? They can't be right now.
I guess the question is, there's a big difference between break-even cost or shutdown cost. I think, Greg, you always say that we're not at shutdown cost yet until people shut down, right? And those have so many different variables in them. One thing we noticed, we were able to give bids to a bunch of the Eastern mills last week, and they were taking them. Seems to be a little pushback this week. Is that correct, Greg? You feel that way a little bit from some of them?
I feel like we're starting to get to prices where people are trying to dig in a little bit. When you talk about shutdown, everybody can lose money for a little while. Nobody can lose money forever. But more than that is the real shutdown is when you can't move the inventory. And right now, there's still great liquidity. You can sell everything you want at a price. There's the level of consumption. I feel like this is a market that is pretty well balanced between supply and demand, except there's one more truck or one more car being produced than is currently being consumed. If I circle back on that and I go, okay, one of two things can happen now. If we do get some sort of an announcement and people have an appetite to build inventory, then we could get, a $40 or $50 rally depending on the item. Conversely, as we move into November, seasonality affecting end use consumption, how much is that going to play? When you think about it, and it probably not, as I talk about it, probably not that much in November, December, because 80% of starts are below the Mason-Dixon line. So really, it's not until January that weather's a factor. But I just have a hard time with the current interest rate environment saying, hey, really, people should build a lot of inventory. I mean, I love to stand on the desk and tell people to buy. I love that. I mean, that is like red meat for me.
ABB, always be buying. Always be
ABC,
buying.
Baby. Oh, that's ABB.
ABB, yes. Yep. There you go, Greg. There you go.
Greg, let's circle back to that. You talked to some people in the extended pricing world that went out to some of their multifamily people, and instead of them going in and buying it, they actually bought some wood and put it on the ground, right? Are we seeing that? What's multifamily going to be doing? What's long-term pricing going to look like? And I had a person looking to cover some cars yesterday, said I couldn't ship a car for X amount of weeks because the inventory was too full at the reload, at a public reload.
That's interesting, because the reports that I've gotten from reloads are that they're low. I mean, that was a report that I got from Matt in Texas.
This was a Midwest
reload. Said that the reloads were low, particularly with the multifamily guys. That was interesting.
But are you here? What are you hearing on the multifamily side, Greg, for people for the appetite to either lock in prices here or build an inventory? Because that's really you live a lot in that world.
What I'm seeing right now is there's a little bit of stuff. There's a lot of projects that are in the finishing up phase right now. There's some stuff for the first quarter, but one guy say it was, hey, they're saying they're going to be down 40%. I don't think that's the right number. I'm still doing some research on multifamily for next year, but I do think that given this year, and I don't know, what did they do with the number? What did I do with the number? How much multifamily is up this year? There's a lot of pipeline of multifamily units that are feeding into the market right now. We see it in rents now across the country. Some of the hottest markets, the rents are down the most. And these are all positives because housing's really unaffordable. And the rents have to come down. And, as we're seeing.
The rent is too high. Wasn't that guy talk about that in a political deal like 6 years ago?
So anyhow, Joe, I need to we got to get some sense from you. Okay, so are you all in on the Phillies tonight? What's the deal? Talk to me. Come on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Philadelphia sports in general, we always have to, make it interesting, always dramatic. They don't call them the Fighting Phils for nothing. So last night they definitely were like, we're just gonna go for Game 7. So I think they wanted to create a little drama, and we're all in tonight, baby. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a little
scared though, right? You gotta be scared.
You gotta have a little agita about that right now.
Always, come on, Italian, always eating pasta. Yeah, agita. Yeah, I live with it 24/7.
Well, listen, I love. I mean, there's nothing like Game 7. I mean,
nothing like it.
Really happy. I don't want to, I don't want to hurt any of our, the Astros fans out there, but, I was happy to see the Rangers getting a shot at it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The Astros have had a really good run.
Yeah, they signed Jacob deGrom. He can't play. They made the World Series. Go figure. It's just that's just how it works. 2 years ago, it happened with the Nationals with Bryce Harper too. He left, came to us.
He's like such a better postseason player.
He's unbelievable
in a Phillies uniform for sure.
One thing I wanted to bring up, guys, the people love to hear when we talk about it. It's for all the buyers sitting out there. They're always looking for the next item they like. What items they don't like.
They're waiting for the next cliff to go over, right?
Well, that's you could say that too. But we talk about this every now and then. What items do we like? What don't we like? I mean, I was going through prices today. Southern Pine, obviously 2x6, still looks really inexpensive, but that's a big treater item, right? And obviously the treaters must not be pulling as much of that right now. Matt's not here, so maybe Joe, you ever work in the Pacific Northwest world at all?
Complete
Or what?
opposite for me. It's gonna be all Southeast
Complete opposite.
Florida.
All right, well, let's just talk the world you're living in. So, what items, if you were doing your show today, would you like?
Like we said earlier, Euro 2x6. I mean, 16s, 14s. Though I love them. I mean, that's especially 16s right now. I mean, they are hot and cold, but there will be a point where everybody's going to come in and want 2x6 16s. And at these levels right now, I mean,
for our viewers, that's an item they buy.
Yep.
They should be buying, let's see, it's the 1st of November. That's a 60 to 90 day item, because I can just tell you that December vessels and January vessels already have no 2x6 16s on them. I can tell you right now.
That is the Euro mantra.
Right. I just got the tally for January vessels. I'm going, hey, there's no 2x6 16s. And he said, yeah, at this price, we're not sending anymore.
So you're thinking that's a 60 to 90 day price move potentially?
Here's what happens with Euro. It sits, and then the last truck gets sold, and all of a sudden overnight the price is up $40, $50, $1,000 on no volume, on no nothing, because the last guy that wanted to sell it sold it.
Right. They want that consistent liquid movement like you see, from the BC mills. They all come in at once, and there it is.
Storage at the port is too expensive to let lumber sit there. I mean, the thing you have to look at is, what can you buy Western 2x6s from the couple of big guys out there? I mean, it's $2 something.
Out of the mill, yep.
Are you better today buying random length cars that ship in a couple weeks and get in, right? I mean, if you're going to build that extra inventory, I would say yes.
What about 2x4 16s? They haven't really lost any luster yet.
Yes.
There's still a lot of love for those out there. That trade has gone on a lot longer than I thought.
And first time last week, I think in 5 or 6 months here, into North Carolina, Eastern 16s were cheaper than Euro. I mean, Euro's goal is to try to beat Eastern pricing, everywhere they can. And for the first time, a dealer just said, hey, I mean, I'll just take the Eastern spruce. I don't need the Euro. When we start seeing things like that, we should expect the Euro to kind of start to react. Right now, they're not bringing enough 16s to really, I guess, worry about it. I mean, we'll see how long that lasts. Like Greg said, keeping wood at the port for a long period of time when it comes to storage costs, and just keep it there in general, because we know how the ports can operate. You have wood there pretty long. I mean, I've been to a couple ports, and they're moving that crap around when it's there too long. So yeah, the quicker they can move that wood, the better. So we will see when that point comes where they need to get these 16s out of there. But right now, they can still play it, close to the chest here.
So I think my item that I like, I continue to say I want to like 2x6 10s and 116 and 5/8, but Joe, we have to remember where they need to go to, right? Because like Joe was saying, you go down to Texas, there's a few of the people still sloshing them around at the 470-ish mark.
Sure.
Yeah, which will be cleaned up, and we're able to sell truckloads to stay in the Northeast or go to the Midwest. But I think being produced in Canada, those 2x6 116s are probably gonna have to stay up in the Northeast, Midwest type of thing, maybe Southeast, because I don't think there was a lot of 2x6 116 Euro sitting on the dock in the Cape or anything like that.
The other thing you get down the East Coast, there's way more places that are looking for Canadian SPF. You got that whole thing where Texas is an AFS market. Any fine stick.
Any fine stick.
I like any fine stick. That's another one. We got ABB and AFS. Okay, we're gonna keep note.
Here's one I wanted to ask about, because a couple people said talk about this during the show. Where are 2x4 104 5/8 going? Are they fairly valued? Are they undervalued? What are people looking to trade them at? I know that's a multi-species item, but let's just talk about where the markets we trade in and live in. Are people building inventory on those? What are they priced at? Where should they be accumulated at? Because that's a big item that gets consumed. And are they gonna, they're kind of trading on top of 2x4 92 and 5/8 right now. Are they going to go back to do you think they go back to a premium at some point? What's your thought?
Who's going first, me or Greg on this one?
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, and then I want to hear what you have to say, so I have an opportunity to swat it back or
time to shut down the young gun, right? Yep, that's hey, that's a veteran move. I like it. I respect the game. No, kind of like Greg was saying earlier. I mean, I think kind of depends on how much we can move before these mill shutdowns that do happen every winter, right? Especially out east. So, I mean, it seems that the Boston nines, I mean, I'm trying to think here. North Carolina last week, I was able to buy around 495 delivered on 2x4 number twos. I'm thinking that's actually up probably 10 or 15 bucks. Now with that, I'm thinking that's probably going to be short lived. It seems like the nines have been that way. 1 week they're 10 bucks more, 1 week they're 10 bucks less. I still think there's plenty of nines out there, especially up in the Northeast. We've seen some pretty cheap nines, out west too. I mean, I think there's still plenty of nines out there to be had.
I mean, let's just call it 450 Boston. At 450 Boston, they're fairly valued. They're not, they're certainly not overvalued, but they're not really undervalued. It's not a base. That's not a number that would go, oh, geez, I really want to basis trade that item. On a relative basis, 8-footers are more overvalued because, trading at the same price or a little bit more. They should more like, they're a better value when they're trading $40 or $50 under. The most interesting dynamic that you've seen is that the 2x6 nines have gone from being, $150 to $200 over 2x4s to being the same price.
Yep.
And when you look at relative value, they typically carry more like a $50 premium on average.
Yep.
They're going lower. You could buy them under. But that's an item that's a real football, and multifamily for the first quarter should be looking hard at that. The challenge is that yellow pine is so cheap that in the southeast,
pine nines,
any job that'll take that, I mean, they're getting clobbered.
Yeah,
We're getting clobbered.
Yeah, we know with the southeast, with them being kind of spoiled with the Euro product. I mean, what does the price have to be for them to actually start to say, fine, we're going to use yellow pine studs? It's set to be $75 a thousand under, 150. I mean,
no, they were trading $200 or $300 under, and now the spread has certainly collapsed down here. That's for sure.
So, Joe, quick question for you. Being a young guy in the industry, what do you see has changed since you've been in it? What are you seeing the positives going forward in the industry? So more people like yourself want to come in, be part of it, get excited about it. I'm excited because I see a lot more younger people getting into it. Gregg and I went through years there where you couldn't get any new younger people into the industry.
COVID really helped us.
The average age is go.
Lumber became so sexy during COVID.
That's right, exactly.
All of a sudden is like lumber. Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of younger traders listen to this podcast,
and they're all
going to pick up on things
this week, Joe.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I know we had the 2000 2000 downloads last week, but we don't even know how many people are, getting these illegal downloads, could be double. Everybody wants in, right? So who knows what the real number is, right?
We haven't gone out looking for them yet. We're going to let them subscribe to everything. So what's just give us a little bit of feedback for what you've seen from being in it and why people should be in this industry. To start off,
this is a relationship industry for sure. Everybody could sell or sells a 2x4, right? Or a 2x6. It's really all comes down to the person who's almost selling a 2. Sure, there's quality, price and shipment. Right now, you kind of hope you can get at least 2 out of the 3. When it comes to the industry itself, it's all about relationships, and that's what I really like about this industry. It's very people oriented. There's a lot of emailing and things like that, but to really get things done, you have to talk to people to get it done. And I think that's kind of what this generation of new college graduates might be missing, is really getting back into that being people oriented type of mindset. So that's what I really like about this industry, is just people first, for sure. And then something to kind of go on with here, the first 3 years here, I was the youngest person here. We weren't hiring any young people. Didn't seem like, again, it only seemed like people knew about the industry because my dad worked in it or somebody knows somebody in the industry. Then, as Gregg said, lumber got sexy. Now people are like, oh, how do I get in this lumber industry? And now in the past year or two, we finally have some people younger than me. COVID, definitely got people to notice this industry for sure. And we've hired some really good people here. So we're pretty excited for, what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, no, I love it. Gregg and I would take calls from people a lot younger than us every day. A lot of fun to talk to. It motivates me. It pushes me when you see that kind of energy.
Yeah, this
So
industry needs it for
it's
sure.
really cool.
Not that it's kind of an old person industry, but eventually there's going to have to be a new generation of people in this industry. So people need to get in now. I mean, for any young wannabe trader out there, I mean, this is a great time to get into the industry. That's for sure. You still have the industry veterans that are very helpful and willing to teach you as well. So this is a great time to get in.
When you think a little about, the LMC membership, 400 fiercely independent dealers, and, you're looking at like vendors for LMC, what are the things that LMC looks for in the vendors? You've got such a great reputation with your with your members, the level of loyalty, what a great, obviously it's widely known for like what a great job you guys do for your members. There's a lot of potential vendors out there that may be listening and saying, hey, what could I do to be a valuable part of the LMC vendor community?
Yeah. The biggest thing we pitch to our members is with the purchasing power we have, we can buy directly from the mill. Closest you can get to buying from the mill logically should be the cheapest because then there's no middle ground. Of course, here and there, if you need a fill-in truck, you're going to have to buy through a distributor, wholesale, etc. But the goal for an LMC member is to buy from the mill directly. So as a vendor, when it comes to Euro especially, we've definitely added more vendors that way as well. When I first started just 5 years ago, when it came to Euro, there was maybe 3, 4 total suppliers of Euro. That was it.
Now there's 30.
Yep, exactly. Now it's 90% of what I'm doing, even from Pennsylvania all the way over to Texas, is Euro. That is 90% of what I do on a daily basis is Euro. It doesn't answer your question completely, but I mean, as an LMC member, that's your goal. That's our goal, and that's the pitch to them is, hey, we can buy directly from the mill because of this power we have.
Right. Okay. All right. Well,
very cool. But my question to you, Joe, is you've listened to a few of our podcasts. I had one person just send me an email while we were on this saying, hey, are you ever going to be live on Rumble or YouTube? We've had a bunch of people asking us if we can do live video. What do you think we can do? What do you like about the podcast? What can we do to add value to it and to grow it in the future?
I think, kind of like you said before, I mean, I think video content would be big. I know you had it on LinkedIn before when you're at a different place there. I don't know if it's, you guys decided to switch off of that or anything like that, but I think video is super important.
I keep pushing for the live, and but that's they can't censor me then, right? They can't hold me back. I'll go on one of my crazy rants, and God forbid I offend a snowflake.
No, we can censor you. We just won't launch it live.
There you go.
Do the video.
There you go. All right, that's new. We got news there at the bottom. There you go. But I do, for my pep talk, just some insider info, I do Rumble because for some reason, for my 100 views on YouTube, I can't have a song playing. So I can go to Rumble, put a song in, because I'll do a song of the week, and it's no problem. If I go to YouTube, I put a 30-second song in, and they're like, nope, you can't have it.
What's
for my 100
what's this
to
week's
150
song?
views.
What's this week's song?
It's still early, so I can't give any hints away.
What's your go-to genre? That man, are you like a country guy? Are you like a heavy metal? What are you?
I try to cater to my dealers, so I'm going to say it's mostly classic rock. It's mostly classic rock.
Okay, so. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
it might be tough. I got wrist surgery coming here.
I think you should throw some of the, like the new, country rock in there. I mean, I think your dealer, they'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I threw Post Malone in there. I didn't get many good reviews.
No, that's a little edgy there, man.
We try, but we're getting there.
That's cool.
Joe, when I walk into the office on Saturday mornings, Gregg usually has 90s rap videos playlaying. It's like, is it Gregg? Would you call that 90s rap / love videos?
No. It's
little R&B action. Yeah.
It's more the mellow stuff.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hardcore rap. And actually, yes, I haven't. I've been doing country on Saturday mornings now. Rap is the go-to when you're in the weight room, and and you need to generate some anger. Although when I really want to get after it, I throw some Linkin Park on, and I'm after it.
Wow, I like the Linkin Park.
I love it. Yeah, Joe, thank you from LMC for coming on. That concludes episode 14 of the Lumber Word. We will have the breakdown up on our website. Like you said, you can go to our new website, thelumberword.com. And we're looking forward to getting this out real quickly and producing the show for next week. Joe, thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you again.